Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the AEW anniversary show review. 5 years AEW in the business. A big time congratulations to everyone involved in AEW for making that happen. And some huge news before the show. They have renegotiated a new deal with TBS, TNT, and HBO Max, but Dynamite for Collision. Rampage wasn't mentioned, and we had been talking that may be coming to an end, so that may be out the door. But for another multiple year agreement, we're going to have some AEW on our television. That is great news for AEW, and it is fantastic news for wrestling in general. Variety, more choice for us to watch on our TVs on a weekly basis. So big congratulations to Tony Khan and everyone involved in AEW, and a big congratulations to wrestling because that is exactly who it benefits. On a sour note, now we need to talk about a couple of things that happened during the Ring of Honor tapings, or a more serious note. I don't know if it's sour, serious, and what you want to call it. Two injuries coming out of the Ring of Honor tapings. The first one was Lady Frost was wrestling a competitor, and forgive me, I don't know the name of who Lady Frost was wrestling, but during the end of that match, seemingly a rough ending for the person taking on Lady Frost, as Lady Frost hit a move. Looks like she landed on her head. I'm not sure if the match was thrown out or whether she was injured, but we'll get more on that. And hopefully by the weekend, we'll have a bit more of an understanding when we do our overview with Gary Joe. We'll be able to shed some more light onto that one. But we wish the competitor really well. Hopefully, it's not as serious as it apparently looked from people in attendance of the show. Secondly, the other injury, unfortunately, looks seemingly Sammy Guevara. And he's only just come back, really, and it's a real shame on this one. He was hitting a cutter in his match on Ring of Honor and landed awkwardly on his leg, I believe. They threw the match straight out. And yeah, serious one for Sammy Guevara. In terms of Lady Frost's opponent, she did end up going out on a backboard, which is like a top half of a stretcher. So yeah, not good on that one. Sammy Guevara. The match was waved straight off after he landed awkwardly. Let's hope and pray. Excuse me for Sammy. I need to sip of my coffee because it's early morning here in the UK. I really do apologize. Well, that's better. Sammy Guevara was really bad. Let's just hope. Look, we hate injuries in wrestling. These things happen. This is why they get told. And they say don't try this at home for a reason, and these are the reasons right here. Unfortunately, these times, and hopefully Sammy's okay. Hopefully, the Lady Frost's opponent's okay, and it's not as serious as it apparently looked. But anyway, let's get on to Dynamite. Let's get out of Dynamite. What a show! What a show! Initially, there is a huge debut on Dynamite. We'll get into that in a minute. Some top quality wrestling action that you can always expect on Dynamite, and some new matches made for Wrestle Dream. Some good, some very blah, in my opinion. But we'll get into that. But the show started with, of course, the BCC, the Blackpool Combat Club, as we know, turning on Bryan Danielson recently, all barring Wheeler Yuta, of course. They still have big plans for Yuta, though, apparently. But Moxie's going to give Danielson an opportunity that not many get, an opportunity to go out on his shield and be buried in his backyard in Wrestle Dream next Sunday. This is going to be an incredible fight, that's for sure. And the BCC seemingly trying to finish off Bryan Danielson next week. Will it happen? It is in Washington. It is in Danielson's backyard, as Moxie said. I'm not so sure. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But we're going to need to do some predictions with Gary Joe this weekend, because obviously next weekend will be the Wrestle Dream review. So unless it's a Sunday, I can't remember. Forgive me. I'm not very good with timings at the minute. It's, as I say, it's really early here in the UK. It's the 12th of October. I know that much, but that's a Saturday. So maybe we'll do the Wrestle Dream review, so we can do the predictions this week. But yeah, does BCC beat Danielson? I don't know if Moxley does. I really don't. The only thing I could, well, we'll talk about it because I don't want to get into other stuff that happened on Dynamite yet. So Moxley gonna bury Danielson in his own backyard at Wrestle Dream. And AEW have always been good with starting shows hot and getting the crowd. The crowd was great, by the way. Get the crowd and but getting the crowd excited, getting the crowd hot. Wow, what a way to start. Will Ospreay and Ricochet in this. Don Callis and Carl Fletcher was wishing Ospreay luck at the back. Um, Callis did say that he wants to talk about what happened last week. He says, but Ospreay said not now. He's got a match. And Callis says him and Fletcher have to get to the airport anyway. So Ospreay, I mean, wow, just wow. I don't know what you could say in this because it was just it when you hear those names and you can picture a match, that was it. I don't think I need to get. I don't think I need it to say any more than that. It's like when you see these two having a match and you just it is. I mean, it was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic on this. There was some counters, there was some incredible moves, there was huge shooting star presses. There was just everything in a match that you could possibly want between Osprey and Ricochet, and you got it. And it got to a point where Osprey hit the hidden blade, and both guys collapse on each other's shoulders. And the referee Rick Knox counts 1, 2, 3, meaning that the match was a draw. And we all don't want a draw, right? I mean, would have been probably would have been a fair result in the grander scheme of things. But yeah, we don't want to draw. The fans didn't want to draw. Ricochet didn't want to draw. Osprey didn't want to draw. They both wanted the match restarted. And that's exactly what we got. Tony Khan went to mention, or Johnny Khan was in Justin Roberts' ear saying the match is restarting, and they start slugging away out of each other. There was another hidden blade by Osprey. However, Kenosuke Takeshita comes out and jumps on Osprey and attacks Osprey. He lays out Ricochet as well. And he holds the international championship over his head, over both guys. I'm not sure if it was a DQ win for either or whether this was thrown out, but it was, there feels like there's so much more meat on the bone here. And the finish with Takeshita proved that. And also Takeshita does deserve whatever spot that he gets right now because he's great. And we're going to have some amazing matches on the horizon, and none more so than Wrestle Dream, because once again, Wrestle Dream being the operative word here. Osprey, Ricochet, Takeshita, Wrestle Dream, triple threat for the international championship. You're talking take my money all day long. That is gonna blow the roof off in Tacoma, Washington. What a match that has been made for Wrestle Dream. It's going to be incredible. That match was unbelievable. And to add Takeshita into the mix here, hold on to your hats, people. It is going to be an amazing, amazing match. I cannot wait for Wrestle Dream next week for that. I mean, there's other matches as well, but that is going to be incredible. And kudos to Ospreay and Ricochet for putting on that kind of match on the opener. Though I talk about follow that, I mean, but what AEW did do well here, and I will say, is that they kind of had there was a bit of backstage and a bit of interview, so they kind of gave the crowd a chance to settle before the next match, and we'll get into that right now because it goes backstage, and yeah, it's Mercedes Moné. But Camille's there. I like Camille. I don't really care for Monet. She said Mercedes has the truck put together, the best of her AEW future so bright because Monet changes everything. Yeah. Okay. However, there was a response to that, which was, yeah, it does. And MVP gave Mercedes Monet his business card. Now that is interesting. That I will say, I'm interested to see what could possibly happen between MVP, Mercedes Moné in the Hurt Syndicate or whatever you want to call it. I'm interested in that. I am actually interested in what that could mean for Mercedes Moné in AEW and to have MVP. It's not the last we see of MVP on Dynamite this week, though. We'll get into more of that in a minute. But Mercedes Moné in the Hurt Business with Camille or without Camille, depending on the way you look at it. I could see it, and I could actually see it, and it makes sense for that to happen, and it does. To have Mercedes in there with MVP, and there is one other. That's another debut. We'll get to that in a minute, and perhaps another one that hasn't debuted yet that we're going to see, and perhaps Swerve Strickland in there as well. It could be very interesting times on the horizon in AEW with the Hurt Syndicate and MVP. He's seemingly wanting to do big business over there in AEW, so we'll see what happens with that. Now, Renee Young was back in the Gun Club, but it doesn't last long because as he was talking to the Gun Club, of course, Juice Robinson's got Hangman Adam Page later. As Renee was talking to the Gun Club, Hangman Adam Page annihilates them with a chair. He's still unhinged, his old Hangman. I don't think that's ever gonna change at the minute. Um, but Hangman and Juice later on on Dynamite, what's gonna happen there? Hangman, I suppose really with Hangman, it's like it was, where does he go from Swerve? And I'll tell you later because something happens later on Dynamite, and it will tell you exactly where Hangman's going, and I am all for it. But I think Hangman's done some brilliant work in AEW, especially with the Swerve Strickland stuff. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant work from Hangman Adam Page. However, we now go to the learning tree. Yes, Big Bill, Brian Keith, and Chris Jericho. It's Jericho's 34th anniversary of his wrestling career. In this, and he there says the Ocho is gone. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm gonna have to. I think I have to translate it. The New Eve is here. The New Eve, I don't know, is here. Chris Jericho has challenged Mark Briscoe at Wrestle Dream for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Yeah. Um, Great. Fucking great. Really don't want to see that. I love Briscoe. I like Jericho in the learning tree, but again, I just don't know what's going on. Briscoe come out with the conglomeration. Um, he actually doesn't make excuses, but Bill chokes landing through a table and Jericho rode on top for the win. But I ain't making that excuse. Jericho pinned Briscoe, he said. So no bones about it. Briscoe says behaving like a little man is calling a spade, and says Jericho is one of the finest wrestlers on the planet. And Briscoe's glad that Jericho beat him because he gets a shot soon. Then Jericho interrupts Mark, says he can never beat him. Maybe his brother Jay could, but not Mark. Ooh, that's ouch. And then Briscoe does the right thing and drops Jericho over right hand and says it's on. So they do have their match at Wrestle Dream next Saturday. Do I really care about Jericho being in another title match? Absolutely not. I don't care. I don't really know what to make of it. Can they put it on the pre-show? Maybe. Can they put it on the um yeah, can they put it on the pre-show so we can choose to watch it or not? I don't know. I love Briscoe, I really do. Mark Briscoe has been fantastic in AEW, and Big Bill and Brian Keith are great under the learning tree. But I just don't want to see Jericho in another title match. I don't know what he's done to justify that title match on there. And if he wins, it's even worse. I'm hoping that Briscoe gets to win in that, to be fair, because I just don't see what Jericho offers. The learning tree is fine. Actually, I didn't think I wanted the learning tree, but I did. I just don't necessarily want Jericho wrestling anymore. But seemingly we're going to get it next week against Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Anyway, let's move on to something more positive, shall we? Speaking of Wrestle Dream and matches, Darby Allin was sitting in a junkyard of all places. He says he remembers being spit on by a bunch of dudes on a metro bus back in the day. He's approached the guys, and one of them showed a switchblade. More on that in a minute. And Darby attacked him anyway. And it felt good standing up for himself. But now he said he'd rather stand up and do something. And that's what happened with Moxley. He says he's been ready to face the company, be ready to be the face of the company. But people may be losing faith, him included. And with that, he issues an open challenge for WrestleDream. Now that is more like it. Darby Allin, WrestleDream, open challenge. Who is going to answer it? Could we see a new debut at WrestleDream? And could it maybe have to do with a certain MVP? Think about that while you have your cornflakes. But I'm really intrigued by that. Darby Allin, WrestleDream, open challenge. Love it. Love the sound of it. Darby Allin's a crazy man. So I'm really looking forward to what that could mean for AEW and what that could mean for Darby Allin at WrestleDream indeed. I mean, obviously losing that shot against Danielson for at WrestleDream, funnily enough. Well, no, he was meant to have the shot at Danielson at Grand Slam. He put it on the line against Moxley, who won, and Moxley gets it at WrestleDream. But he could have been standing there today, AEW World Champion, but he doesn't back down from a challenge. And now he's just issued a challenge to anybody that wants to come along at WrestleDream and take him on. So I'm really looking forward to that. But now we get to the second match of the night. And this is what I'm saying. What AEW did well here was you had that match with Ospreay and Ricochet. And you could have just gone straight into this match, which is Hangman and Juice Robinson. But what they've done really well here was they've done those little skits, they've done those little segments to bring the crowd down a little bit. Not down as in upset, down as in off that high of that amazing match that they just saw and the conclusion with Takeshita. They brung them back down to being ready for another great match with yet another great return. Anyway, Hangman and Juice Robinson had a great match. These two were great. It spilled out into the stands at one point as well. Juice tossed a beer into Hangman. I think Hangman would have liked that, to be quite honest with you. They spit with a popcorn bucket as well to the face. It was just this was a kind of match that I would say Juice Robinson just if you had what is the sort of crazy match that they'd have, this is exactly what it would be. It was absolute nuts to Juice with Juice. It's great to see Juice back as well. With that serious back injury that he had, I really I was really worried actually that we maybe wouldn't see Juice Robinson back in AEW, but I'm so glad that he's back. And this was just all sense of craziness. I think at the moment, just to put Hangman Page in crazy matches just works. I mean, they were fighting all over the place. There was, as I said, it was popcorn buckets, everything, you name it, they'd done it. And it was just crazy. It really was. There was the guys go through the guardrail at one point during this. It was just crazy, 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 crazy. And then there is a falling power bomb. Juice looked for the juices loose, but Page actually grabbed the referee. Then he kicked him low in the juice, and then hit the buckshot for the 1, 2, 3. And this was a great match and a great brawl to start the match off. It was just brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. But it doesn't end there. Hangman then decides to get a leather belt and try to hang Juice Robinson, as you do on AEW. I mean, he's burnt down Swerve's house, so Swerve's gone into his little kid's room and stood over the little child as he was cutting a promo. So, hey, why not, right? We've been stapled. We've had pizza cutters over the years. So, yeah, why not try and hang someone? Why not? He's Hangman after all. However, the return Switchblade, as we said earlier, Jay White is back and he lariats Page, and the crowd is losing their shit at this point. They are going crazy. Switchblade managed to keep mounting punches on Page. He manages to get out of the way. Page escapes through the crowd, but as he does, Switchblade follows him, and the brawl continues. And Hangman Page gets speared through a table in the crowd that he set up earlier. But more importantly than all that, Switchblade Jay White returned on AEW Dynamite. We cannot wait Oh well, I cannot wait to see what's next. I'm hoping and praying, looking like he's going to be in the feud with Hangman to begin with, which is absolutely fine, by the way. But I am hoping and praying that they now are going to start using Switchblade correctly. The biggest problem I had with AEW over the last few years with Jay White is he's not been used right. He is a megastar. When he first come in, and funnily enough, when Jay White first come in, me and Andy, and I think it was Munsey as well, maybe even Dave. I can't remember if Dave joined us on that one or whether it was just me, Andy, and Munsey. And we were complaining about Jay White and me, or me and Andy were like, well, this guy's meant to be the star and you brought him in a real shitty way. And it's kind of been, we was always told Jay White's one of the best. Munsey was all over him saying how great he was. And we started to see it. But then it kind of drifted away. Then there's been an injury. Now we need to see Jay White. We need to see, it's like we're the real switchblade. Please stand up. And we need to see him stand up in AEW. Now he's returned and potentially going into a feud with Hangman Page. We absolutely need to see it. So hopefully we get to see the real switchblade. Please stand up and let's be having you, as Zack Knight would say in AEW, or Zack Zodiac would say in AEW. We go to the back now. Jack Perry is out of his bus and he's met with Shibata, who, if you remember, Shibata come in on the Open Challenge last week after Perry was beating Suzuki and continued to do so. And Shibata wants a shot at the TNT Championship at Wrestle Dream. Perry said, think about it. And then blindsides him and accepts the challenge for Wrestle Dream. Perry, Shibata, Wrestle Dream, TNT Championship. Should be a very good match. Jack Perry definitely doing his best work since sort of coming back as a scapegoat in AEW. Really like what he's doing. It's totally different from his jungle Jack Perry. Oh, we need to do mention, sorry to sort of cut this off and start. We do need to send our well wishes to Luchasaurus Killswitch, pneumonia in his lungs. That happened. That he's been hospitalized. We're praying for you, bud. You don't know me, I don't know you, but that is not something that I would want it to read. We absolutely send you our prayers. Get healthy, get better, and get back to AEW as soon as you're physically able to. But please, 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 please look after yourself and make sure that you're out of that hospital as soon as possible. So, yeah, it was just because I mentioned the jungle stuff with Jack Perry, it come into my head. But yeah, Jack Perry and Shibata at Wrestle Dream next weekend should be a very, very good match. Danielson is in the back and he says the only thing he's been thinking about is fuck John Moxley. He says tonight Okada's championship is the only one on the line in the first 20 minutes. But Danielson is on the line in the main event. It's on the whole of the main event. And he hasn't forgotten what Okada done. If you remember, Danielson took on Okada and broke Danielson's arm during their match at Forbidden Door a while back. So what a main event that's going to be. You look at that. I mean, you started with Ospreay and Ricochet. You're ending with Danielson and Okada. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But women's action on Dynamite next. Britt Baker, DMD, Serena Deeb. Serena, I love Serena. I think she's brilliant in the ring. She really is. Mariah May's actually sitting in the front row of this, by the way. It's a good little back and forth. Wouldn't have too long, but Lockjaw wins it for Britt Baker. It was a fine match. It was, I don't know with it. It was. I feel as though I don't know with the women's division in AEW at the minute. It's got so many great matches. You've got so much stacked talent. You've got some great bears there, but this match was. I just felt that this match could have been better. I don't know whether it was the time. I don't know whether it just I just felt this offered so much more than what it actually delivered on in terms of a match. Now it was, as I say, the match was perfectly fine, and obviously we got a new challenger for Mariah May, seemingly, in Britt Baker, DMD. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just think it could have been. It just could have been better than what it was. That's my view on that. I just think that they're too better. They're both better than that. And the match was good, but it could have been better. Keep saying it, so I'm going to move on. Private Party, Iron Savages. I mean, it literally didn't last 5 seconds, really. Double drop kick by Private Party, got Boulder to the outside, and Quinn was with a knee, some sort of knee, somersault plant. Well, sorry, with a somersault plancha. Gin and Juice to Bronson. Stokely Hathaway, interestingly enough, is watching on at the back as that win picks it up. The offense looked actually quite rough on this. It really did. Yeah, I was a bit. It did look rough. I don't know whether again didn't have time, so they were trying to be quick and get it all in, And yeah, I'm not quite sure. Didn't last long enough to really work, but the offense looked a bit. Hmm. Anyway, Cassidy wants to know what's good in Pittsburgh. Private Party said they'll be the next AEW champions and hopes the Bucks are listening and the Bucks come out. Matt has an idea. Since we've got an overrun, let's put the titles on the line tonight. I said, wait, the Bucks have super limited dates and they're not wasting it on Pittsburgh. And at that point, Scapegoat attacks from behind and the Bucks hit the ring. But Shibata makes a save and Christopher Daniels has made a trios match for Rampage. Interesting. Now, before the main event, Renee Young is backstage. Renee Paquette, sorry, in copyright infringement and all that, with MVP. And MVP has an announcement, but before he could make that announcement, Prince Nana comes here and says that he doesn't like the way MVP is talking. Nana says he used to be a wrestler and he will lace them out tonight. And MVP says, you know what, that actually sounds like a complaint. And I don't deal with complaints, but he does. And as Prince Nana says, who? And as he turned around, the president of the complaints department of the Hurt Syndicate, Shelton Benjamin, arrives in AEW. Yes, Shelton Benjamin drinks. This isn't Prince Nana's coffee. This is Kenko's finest, but decaf. Um, he drinks Nana's coffee and walks off with MVP. But Shelton Benjamin in AEW, great acquisition. Shelton Benjamin is been one of the most underrated wrestlers in over a decade, in my opinion. And now in AEW, I think it suits him well here. Now, we go back to Darby Allin's open challenge just very briefly before we get to this main event. And you're thinking, well, there's one guy missing at the moment from the Hurt Syndicate. And Darby Allin's issued an open challenge. Could the open challenge be answered at Wrestle Dream by Bobby Lashley? Perhaps. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. I'm just asking the question. Bobby Lashley, could he answer the challenge? Are we going to get the full Hurt Syndicate in AEW at Wrestle Dream? But Shelton Benjamin signs with AEW and debuts on Dynamite this week. Things are cooking. Things are cooking in AEW. But let's get to the main event. The World Heavyweight Championship and the Continental Championship, for at least for the first 20 minutes, is on the line as Bryan Danielson takes on Okada. Holy Lord, Mother of Jesus. I mean, you want a match that main events this 5-year anniversary of Dynamite. Good God. It was unbelievable. It was like two legends, the match that you would expect between two legends, you absolutely got. I thought this was great. I loved it. The Continental Championship storyline slowed down at the beginning of the match, but it made sense because it, told a good story. But this was just, Christ. So the match goes over the 20 minutes. So the Continental title doesn't end up changing in this. And Bryan Danielson go for the Jesus. Saito knee. Boom, a rainmaker. Both guys were down at that point. He didn't get the shot in. And then the Danielson ducked another rainmaker and delivers a rainmaker of his own. And there was a 2 and a bit there. A hammer and elbow strikes from Danielson. Okada gets to his feet with Danielson in a fireman's carry, sort of Death Valley bomb by Okada. and Okada holds the wrist. But then the BCC come to ringside. Okada gets distracted by the BCC, and Danielson counters with a close. Danielson counters a clothesline with just a backslide for the victory. So Okada was actually um, distracted by the BCC, who actually come down for Danielson. The only thing I could imagine here is that they purposely distracted Okada because they didn't want Danielson to lose the match because Moxley wants to take and bury Danielson in his backyard, as he rightfully said, in Washington next Saturday at Wrestle Dream. As the BCC go to attack Danielson, Wheeler Yuta makes the save for Bryan Danielson. Yuta and Danielson together as a team. Wheeler Yuta then issues a challenge to Claudio and Pac for next week's Dynamite. Interestingly enough, though, Claudio was hesitant in hitting Yuta in this. He didn't want to hit Wheeler Yuta in this match. So lots of stuff there to get our teeth into. Wheeler Yuta and Danielson together. Is this right, or is this a ruse? Is something gonna happen at Wrestle Dream? Excuse me, while I plug my laptop in, otherwise we're gonna get cut off. Is this a ruse by Danielson? Oh, sorry, is this a ruse by Wheeler? Is he really just going to be the BCC, and is he just siding with Danielson to make Danielson think that he's going to be with him? I don't know. I really don't know. But what a great way for Dynamite to end on their 5th-year anniversary. And again, the big news coming out of it, the new television deal, multiple year deal for Dynamite. Fantastic news for fantastic news for wrestling. Guys, just don't forget to follow us, HTTB, on Twitter, on YouTube, and TikTok. In the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. Big thanks to Mr. Tesh, who come on yesterday. We recorded a top 10. That will be out tomorrow, the top 10 storylines. The NWA review will be out a bit later on today, so get checking on that for NWA 76. We are recording some big interviews coming up. We've got Joe Kazana, we've got Fodder, we've got Vince Russo sitting in the booth this week. Next week, we're going to be recording with Eric Bischoff, so keep your eyes on that. That will be in a few weeks' time. It'll air on our channel. Layla will be coming on soon as well. Really looking forward to talking with her. But just keep following us. You won't be disappointed. There's so much more coming up on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. But until we're back, ladies and gentlemen, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.